In the 90s, there was no bigger craze than Beanie Babies. Now, a new Apple TV Plus film, The Beanie Bubble, with Zach Galifianakis and Elizabeth Banks and Chicago's own Callie Johnson. Thank you so much for your time today, Callie.
Thank you so much for having me. What a delightful thing to be interviewed by a fellow Chicagoan.
So, I was a fan of Beanie Babies growing up. Was it a big thing in your household as well, too?
Oh my gosh, I had hundreds of them. My godmother was essentially like the character that I play in this movie for me. She was like ground zero for the Beanie Baby craze in our lives. It was such a delightful part of my childhood.
So, let's talk a little bit about Ty Warner because he was born in Chicago. The Empire was, there's a lot of Chicago connections to it. Tell us a little bit about the story and what we're going to see in this film.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't realize how much of this story and how much of this craze started in Chicago and started in that kind of like for me, my character's from Naperville, which is 35 minutes from where I grew up. So when I got the audition and I ended up watching a documentary about the Beanie Baby craze and I realized that I was like, wow, I know who this woman is. I grew up with this woman. This woman is my mom. She's a 90s mom who loves her kids and, discovers Beanie Babies and takes it from there. So it was such a cool thing to see how Chicago this story really is.
Character of Linda, tell us a little bit about her. And, I know she's from Naperville, so I already feel like I know her, but tell me a little bit about who she is.
I know, right? Well, honestly, all of the female characters in the film are inspired by stories in a book. So my character's inspired by a real person, but it's definitely my own take on her. She's a soccer mom, but she's also like a fierce entrepreneur who realizes pretty early on that Beanie Babies are going to be a big thing. So she kind of finds a way to capitalize on that. And Ty Warner has a few opinions about that.
Because when I think back to my childhood and growing up with my family, it's like you couldn't just have one animal. They needed a friend and they had something else. And then there's their tie-in with McDonald's. And then before you know it, your whole house was filled with these because you couldn't, there was a perfect price point. They were cute. They were great gifts. Had all holiday themes. So it was like easy to have no Beanie Babies. And then overnight, your house full of them.
Exactly. I mean, Ty Warner was such an incredible businessman. He knew what was going to catch people and having that low price point, not selling to big box stores, having it only in those local mom and pop shops really meant a lot to people. And so, yeah, it was the same for me. I mean, I remember my childhood bedroom and I had bookshelves, but on top of the bookshelves were piles of Beanie Babies. I had Beanie Baby shelves. I had a Beanie Baby tree. I mean, our lives were Beanie Babies. My brother and I had a little entourage of ones that we'd switch out that would come along with us everywhere we went.
What did you learn? Because maybe obviously, you were in a different phase in your life when you were collecting them and when you had them, as a kid. But now as an adult, looking back on that script, I mean, how does this kind of change your perception of like the whole empire of Beanie Babies?
Wow, yeah. I mean, I remember seeing those little red tags with the TY. And so it's instilled in you like Ty Warren, like that he is the face of the company, that he is the only thing in the company. And what I love so much about this story is that it really explores all of the women in his life, whether they were partners or employees or business partners that did a lot of work in helping to inspire him to push the craze even further, and they didn't get any of the credit. So it's really wild to kind of look back and see how like the female relationship to the American dream and how sometimes a lot of the time it works against you.
Because we get to see the storyline between Ty and then Robbie as well too, Zach Galifianakis and Elizabeth Banks, and we see, from the trailer that was just recently released that there's a lot of tension, and he and her, not everything is well behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that, Time Warner was a really eclectic human being. And of course, Zach's take on Ty is so fun and it's so interesting and unique. And it's certainly his own interpretation. But from his take, what I can gather is that Ty really didn't want anyone else to get the credit for his initial idea, no matter how instrumental it was to making him as successful as he was. So it's quite an interesting story.
I would talk a little bit about Elizabeth Banks. She's one of my favorite actresses, one of my favorite directors, and just having her portrayed in this movie that has so many Chicago connections. What was it like? Did you have a couple of moments off off stage with or off screen with her? What was that like for you?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to work with her, which I was so bummed about. I'm still so like pinching myself for getting to be like billed next to her, but I did get a chance to obviously work with Zach. We have this really great fun scene, and then I did get a chance to spend the day with Sarah Snook, who I don't know if you watched Succession, but boy oh boy was that like such a highlight in my career. And she's so kind and she's so lovely and down to earth, and I would work with her again in a heartbeat. I'd work with Zach again in a heartbeat. He was also so kind and fun and just really kept, the whole day we were just playing. And I felt so challenged and fulfilled as an actor.
I want to talk a little bit about your time here in Chicago, because you spent many years in theater, grew up in Genoa. When did you move to the city, or when did you start doing theater here?
Yeah, so my sweet parents, who have always been so supportive of me, I was doing plays and musicals in high school in my little town of Genoa. It's, about 5,000 people. And I just decided one day, I was like, I think I want to do this for a career. And my parents and I had no idea what that even looked like. So we started looking at schools. We knew that Chicago obviously was such a theater hub. And so I ended up going to Columbia College in 2008 and spent 4 wonderful years there in the musical theater program, and graduated, and then just kind of started working from there. And I lived there for 12 years and pretty much worked the whole time. It is just such a special place where people are able to really cultivate their crafts and build careers and discover themselves. I'm forever grateful, and I'm so proud to be a Chicagoan.
You're also part of the One Chicago family as well too. We can't let you enter an episode or two without the fan base, because when I've done interviews with cast members from the show, people, that fan base is so strong. They're so loyal. Do you get a lot of people reaching out because they saw you on those episodes, that they follow your career otherwise?
Well, honestly, I wonder if with after the like during the Beanie Bubble, during this whole summer, I'm wondering if more people are going to start reaching out and realizing that I had a recurring role in Chicago Med a few years ago, which again, forever grateful for that. But I do wonder if like maybe other people who are going to see the movie start looking me up and realizing, oh my gosh, there's that girl. Yeah.
Fingers crossed that it's going to happen.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
And then also, as far as theater, any plans or any hopes that you can make some time in your schedule to come back and do a show here?
Gosh, I would love nothing more. Chicago is my home. It is where I learned how to be an artist, and it has made me the person that I am today and the performer I am today. I can say with extreme certainty that I wouldn't be where I am today without everything that I did in Chicago and everything I learned about being an artist. So yeah, I would, yes. Goodman, Steppenwolf, Chicago Shakespeare Theater. I loved working there when I worked there a few years ago. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to come back to Chicago and do theater.
Awesome. And then final thing here, Beanie Bubble, obviously bring back a lot of memories. Are there still Beanie Babies at your family's home? Do you have any in your place right now? Is there any that like came out of storage, or?
Oh, I'm planning on going home to my mom's this summer to go see it in theaters with her, because we're going to have a short theatrical release starting July 21st. And I'm definitely going to be digging around in her basement to find, I swear I still have my Princess Diana bear. Somewhere I've still got my Princess Diana bear, but I actually do have a really fun piece of memorabilia. The person that my character is based off of actually did create a magazine, a Beanie Baby magazine, and I went on Etsy and I bought one of her magazines, like from the 2000s, and I will cherish that forever for sure.
Awesome. Well, Callie, thank you so much for your time today. The Beanie Bubble, again, in theaters July 21st, and then Apple TV Plus on the 28th. Much success to you, and hope to see you in Chicago sometime very soon.
I bet we'll run into each other, no problem.
Awesome.